Good day, everybody. This is Michael Levitas from JurisQ.com. We are a legal network with participating attorneys to answer questions from our viewers on what's out there that people are looking for on Google in different law topics, newsworthy legal cases. And today we have with us back Alla Kurolapnik, a divorce attorney with a focus on mediation. Alla, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And of course, you and I, we discuss frequently celebrity divorces, see how it's applicable to everyday people. And we also talk about practical legal issues in divorces and how mediation could help lessen the impact of this litigious process of a divorce. And one such side issue, a buy note by a divorce, is when you have a divorce that's a litigation that is adversarial in nature. Sometimes you may have to look for assets of your ex-spouse, right? If they owe you child support, if they owe you, let's say, alimony. So first of all, let's talk about that, how easy or difficult it is to recover assets and how mediation can help avoid this painful procedure.
So, as you already know, I'm a big proponent of, attempting to mediate your divorce prior to seeking the court's intervention. But
Right.
Inherently, there has to be some level of trust between the parties. And then the next question becomes, what can I as a mediator do to facilitate that? To ensure the parties that there's full disclosure between them. And often during my sessions, I'll ask both parties, or I'll ask the party who's less likely to believe that they've been handed the full picture of the other spouse's finances, what is it that we can do, or what would you like to see so that we can put this issue to rest? Because you don't have to believe me, and you certainly don't have to believe your spouse, but what or who
Right.
will you believe so that we can make this happen? And one of the tools that we employ in mediation is the use of professionals. Now, we also do it in a litigation setting as divorce attorneys, but it's a big tool that we utilize in mediation. And we have professionals, forensic accountants, we have, lifestyle analysis, accountants who do lifestyle analysis, professionals who do vocational expertise, and they can come up with in other words, they can look back through your credit cards, bank statements, through, your use of everything, and figure out what we call a lifestyle analysis. So let's say if you don't believe that somebody is only worth $1 million, you believe that your spouse is worth $5 million, let's have an accountant then figure it out for you, because it's going to happen either way in court or through mediation. And we'll often employ someone who'll do a look back and do what we call lifestyle analysis and let us see how are you actually living. And when the spouse that's not trusting sees that from a professional, it may be able to quiet their concerns so that you can move forward in actually engaging in the division of assets and liabilities of the marriage, which is what we call equitable distribution. Another tool I may utilize as a divorce attorney in my mediation sessions is to really, for lack of a better term, I would say, let's put a clause into the agreement that would penalize the spouse who secreted assets from you. So hypothetically, if we enter into an agreement and we decide how we're going to separate our assets, I would, and the one spouse is still not trusting of what's going on, I would say, okay, well, if you're really not trusting of this, why don't we put in a clause into the agreement that says, if you ever uncover or discover assets that weren't previously presented to you, two things would happen. One is that you would get 70% of them immediately instead of a 50-50 distribution, giving that spouse an incentive then, one spouse not to lie, the other spouse an incentive to reach a resolution. and then suggest something to the extent, depending the kind of asset it is, if it's a liquid asset versus, a non-liquid asset like a business interest or some other kind of, an active asset. I would suggest that the date of valuation be as the spouse who stood to lose that asset initially would choose the evaluation date, because that matters. Evaluation date of these non-liquid assets matter. So we could put all sorts of protections, and then of course, obviously some kind of a provision that if this does happen, the other spouse who we discover this information from will be penalized in the form of attorney fees. So
This is
there
so
are things
interesting. Yeah.
we can offer up just to help the parties come closer to meeting of the minds, to give them that protection if they're not trustworthy. Because I have to be honest with you, I've been doing litigation for many, many years, more than I've been doing mediation, quite frankly. And in all my years of experience, it's one of the worst things is, you get this great judgment for your client and it's wonderful, but then how are you going to collect it? Right? If the
Exactly.
person's
Yes.
hiding
It's a
money
worthless
overseas,
piece of paper.
it's
Could
right.
be.
You have to find some way to, and look, you could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to enforce it. And I've seen that happen. And ultimately you're going to get to it. But again, it's more litigation, more time off your life to enjoy with your family, loved ones, and friends, to have this hassle hanging over your head and to have, attorneys constantly in and out of your life. I'm not sure what's the win situation here. Going after it and then trying to uncover it, and maybe you'll get some, maybe you won't, or taking the precautions ahead of time where you have the ability to self-determine how the
Right.
resolution is going to work out.
Alla, thank you so much for educating us on this too. I never knew that during mediation you can have this clause that actually survives the divorce, that says in case you have misinformed the other party of your assets, you're still liable even post-divorce. That, like you said, gives a great incentive for the other party to make sure that they disclose all the
Right.
assets. And of course, it's very important that you do the work together with your experts to ahead of time analyze the situation so that you tell the other party you can run, but you can't hide. Because based on your lifestyle, you would say you're claiming such and such, but you're driving a Bentley. How can you afford it? Must be there could be some asset somewhere, right?
Right. In other words,
So
you'd look at the
yeah,
liabilities and the assets. If there's no credit card
right.
debt, and they're showing that the lifestyle, they're spending $5 million a year, but he's the spouse,
Where's the income? Where's the assets? Yeah,
right,
it doesn't make sense.
they're only
Yeah,
bringing in $1 million a year, so then there's a discrepancy. And that's
yeah,
what I mean. You can try to bring the parties closer to the meeting of the minds on that.
yeah. That's a great advice. That's a great mechanism to use in mediation, because like you said, you can have this divorce, you have attorneys that are sharks that win for you the judgment, but in the end, it's just a piece of paper that needs to be enforced. And if the other party is hiding assets, would be overseas, you can't reach them, that paper is worthless. It's much better ahead of time come to a peaceful resolution with the help of mediators and other professionals, so that you actually have an agreement that has, first of all, has some teeth to it and some validity. So you can actually have the assets available to pay for alimony and child support and whatever else that needs to be divided. Alla, thank you so much for highlighting another benefit of mediation. I know you're a big fan, and the more we hear you, the more we understand why it's so important to go to an attorney like you that actually believes in mediation, or ask your own attorney, resort to mediation. If not, call Alla Kurolapnik. The phone number is on the bottom of the screen to see if Alla can assist. Thank you so much, Alla. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time, with more great questions and great answers on JurisQ
Thank
Network.
you.
Have a great day. Take care.
Thanks.